We'll go ahead and get started with Q&A. Testing 1 2. 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 All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Testing 1 2. We're good on the volume. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We ask the brothers uncover your head, the sisters cover your heads. We're gonna stand and face Jerusalem and open up. Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done on earth
thy will be done on earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us today our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
Lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
Thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory forever.
and the glory forever.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the floor for question and answer. Who's got the first question? Okay.
In terms of what you were saying in the sermon about Christmas party. Like if a party is held, like Christmas is December, and a party is held, let's say, October or November, is that still considered, can one attend a party, employees party or whatever that's held in that period of time?
Okay. So the question is, what's the question? Can you attend a party?
Held by your workplace if it's in something like October or November, because that's far from Christmas, is it not?
Okay. Okay. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Hold on, let me find it. So the question is, can you attend a party at your job or just a party period if it falls nearby the holiday season? Is that the question?
If it's Christmas is December, right? But they usually sometimes have parties in October or November or far from.
Usually labeled as a holiday.
Yeah, that's my question is what 1 Corinthians 10 is where we're going. What kind of party is it?
Like staff appreciation.
Say it's a holiday party, like holiday party. A lot of companies, a lot of businesses, at the end of the year,
We'll have a holiday party, correct?
They'll have a holiday party before you break for your winter
Right.
holiday.
And that's what they're going to
Christmas
do.
party.
That's what they're going to do once they find out that you can't do Christmas. Then they're going to try to blur whatever it is that they're doing.
Mhm.
So,
So it doesn't matter the time when they have it.
Mm.
well, here's what matters. 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 27. Start at verse 19. 1 Corinthians 10 and 19. First Corinthians 10 and 19. Okay, go ahead.
What say I then? That the idols anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to God. And I would not that you should have fellowship with the devils. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the tables of devils.
Okay, so this is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid drinking of the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils, being partakers of the Lord's table, and being partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. Skip down to verse 27 and go ahead.
if any of them that believe not bid you to a feast.
Okay, so if a non-believer, there's somebody that don't believe in God, don't believe in Christ, invite you to a party, right? So what kind of party is that going to be? That's not going to be anything that has to do with the true and living God at all, right? So we talking, you know, any other type of celebration. If any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, keep going.
And ye be disposed to go.
And you're able to go, keep going.
Whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no question for conscience sake.
Now the reason he's saying that is because, read verse 25 so we can get some context. Go ahead. Huh?
Sounds kind of funny because someone says pork in front of you and says,
yeah, well, I mean, if we had a band here, we could stop here and start the music and just roll with that. But go back to 25. Go ahead.
Whatsoever sold in shambles that eat, asking no question for conscience sake.
Okay, so this is what they were dealing with. The topic of context was buying meats in a store sold by somebody who does not believe in the true and living God. I.e., you go to a deli or a meat market, it could be some Muslims there. They got a whole way that they do meat. So this was what they were dealing with, trying to teach the brethren, like, you can only worry about it so much because, look, we in captivity, so it kind of is what it is. So we not in control as we were in the land, so, you know, it is what it is. Whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no question for conscience sake. Keep going.
For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
Right. 27.
And if any of them that believe not bid you to feast, and ye be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no question for conscience sake. But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it, and for conscience sake. For the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof.
Okay, so again, if any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, and ye be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no question for conscience sake. So number one, this cannot be talking about the dietary law, because if they set somebody's foot in front of you, you're not going to eat that. So it's not talking about anything. It's talking about things that you would eat anyway. Because this is talking about what that thing that you're eating is being eaten in honor of. That's the whole point here. Because he said, but if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice to idols, eat not. So if they put a piece of chicken in front of you, and they don't say that this chicken, we're coming together to eat this chicken in honor of a God, then you can eat the chicken. But as soon as they say, we're coming together to eat this chicken in honor of this God, that same chicken you can now not eat. Because it's being, you say, but if any man say unto you, if they letting you know. So basically what this is telling you is if somebody invites you to a party, you don't have to ask, well, what is this party and what are we doing and yada, yada, yada. You don't have to do that. Because he said, eat, asking no questions for conscience sake. Like for instance, somebody invite me to a birthday party or to a graduation party or anniversary party or a Super Bowl party. And they say, hey, we're going to have a Super Bowl party. Then I don't have to ask, like let's say the Super Bowl party is in November. I don't know when the Super Bowl is, but let's just say, or a boxing match, right? Somebody invite me to a boxing match at the end of November. I don't have to ask, well, is this also a Christmas party? Or is this also a Thanksgiving party or something like that? Now, we supposed to be wise as serpent, harmless as doves. I know anything coming close to that season. For instance, one time somebody invited me to a party and it was around that season. And I got there and it was a Christmas tree up. So it wasn't a Christmas party, but I was vexed because it was, you know, it was a tree up and I didn't really want to be there or involved with that, you know. So that's kind of where you get into the wisdom, because a lot of times it's not even so much a question of are you transgressing as it is a question of, because he said what he said, But if they say, if any say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it. So you trying to show them that this is wrong. You don't want to send any mixed signals to them, right? Like for me, I wouldn't want somebody at the party to then, you know, I'll be somewhere later, I'm preaching to them about Christmas, and they say, well, wasn't you at that party with the tree up? Or were you at the Christmas party? Right? And again, even having a tree up, like that vexes me, but again, I'm coming there because I was told it was something else, which is what he's getting at. He's getting at when you talk about transgression, eating of the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils, this is you knowingly participating in something, right? So he said, but if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it, and for conscience sake, your own conscience. Like, I don't want to be beating myself up that I got trapped going to a Christmas party, or that I was at a Christmas party and I just got deceived, or that I partook in something that I really shouldn't have or didn't want to, right? So this is where the wisdom comes in, right? So me personally, what we try to develop is, and this is just our personal approach to it, after the holy days, which ends just right now, they getting ready to get into their holidays, which is cool. We let everybody know we do not celebrate any religious holidays that are not a part of our religion. So whether you think they're religious or not, they are. So therefore, we don't do Halloween. We don't do Thanksgiving. We don't do Easter. We don't do any of that. So any gifts you're going to give us, you got to cut that off right here. And we put a date on it. Don't bring no gifts up in this house after this date. This way, reason we did that in my household is because when we start telling people what we can't do, they feel like they slick and they just going to remix it. Like you cannot Teddy Riley these gifts and give it to us under a different banner. Don't bring me no gifts on December 23rd talking about it's just out of your heart. Give it to me in April. So we tell them, you bring a gift up in here past this date, it's going right back to you. Don't invite us to know, if you got some birthday parties, you know about them before this season, so invite us before then. But any random, as it gets closer to Christmas, any random parties, as it get closer to the holidays, I should say. Because any parties at the end of October, I know what that's going to look like. You know what I'm saying? At any parties at the end of December, I know what that's going to look like.
Except if the person has a birthday in December.
If they got a birthday in December, I still know if their birthday is anywhere around Christmas, if I come in their house, I'm not going to be surprised. I know there's going to be all kinds of Christmas decorations. So now that's a decision that I got to make. Do I really want to, am I going to be comfortable, and do I really want to do that? Which 9 out of 10, no. It's, as I increase in knowledge, it's going to vex me. Like, this has been my experience. I had a couple times where people, like I said, that was one time where somebody invited me to a party. It was in the end of December. We went up in there and it was trees and presents and garland and all kind of stuff. It was a birthday party, but they had all that stuff there. And really nobody was paying attention to the stuff. But, for me, I felt some kind of way. Like that made me realize, like, okay, well, I need to be a little smarter about how I approach this. And even in school, like, they're trying to do that in school where they're making it just the holiday. Because like my older daughter couldn't perform in the holiday concert. It was really a Christmas concert. But they changed it and make it a holiday concert because people were like, hey, we ain't doing Christmas. Oh, it's not Christmas, it's for the holidays. But then they changed, no, they went from Christmas to holiday to winter. Then it was the winter concert. But in the middle of the concert, they had somebody come up there with a Santa Claus hat on. So what's that about? So again, to answer your question, the book says that if you know what it is, that's how you determine it. So if you know it's a Christmas party, or even if it's a holiday party, you know what holidays they talk about. If they say it's a holiday party, then they're not talking the Passover. They're not talking the Feast of Tabernacles. Matter of fact, they may be talking anything but that. So if it's a holiday party, it's the end of the year, you know. And this is the other thing that experience has taught me and my wife. For instance, they tried to do that. I want to say last year, her family tried to do that. Well, we know y'all don't do Christmas, so we're gonna do a party a week early, and we're gonna have all the family come in. It's not a Christmas party, and we done told everybody, and y'all could come. But the reality is, number one, who's listening to you? First of all, number one, how do you know how to explain it? Because you're not dealing with the Bible. You think you know, but you don't really know. So how are you explaining? Number two, who's listening to you? And number three, who is going to not be in the Christmas spirit just because you told them we can't do it? So what's going to end up happening is we're going to go to the party and people are going to be giving early gifts and all that stuff and talking about their Christmas plans anyway, because they don't care about what we're doing. They just want us to be a part of it. So wisdom has taught us, hey, November so-and-so, just act like we ain't here. And then, 1 or 2 weeks after New Year's, when y'all get done with all that y'all doing, then hey, you can act like we here again. So that's kind of how we approach it, because I done got caught a couple times early on with people trying to remix it. I even had somebody, years ago, we told them we didn't do Christmas. And they came by and just was gonna force some gifts on it. Oh, it's early. This ain't a Christmas gift. This is just a so. They lost their mind and came over and brought the gifts, gonna force it on us. That turned into an 1.5 hour long Bible study. I haven't seen them much after that. Because again, you're gonna force that on me. I'm gonna force this on you. Now what? So that's what people will do, So a lot of times, for us, it has been, because people attempt to do that and try to like hide it and make it, then it's kind of like we have to kind of take that into consideration and just draw the line, because it just ends up being strife. You know what I'm saying? You get caught at you go to. So to answer your question. The book says if you know it's in sacrifice to an idol, then you can't be a part of it, right? So, they have an office party in September. Hey, what's the party for? Oh, somebody's retiring. Cool. October 15th. Oh, somebody's retiring. Cool. By October 28th, and they're having a Halloween party, 9 out of 10, if they got the decorations up and you see it and all that and you see what's going on. Or they're buying Halloween candy around that time. They're buying Halloween stuff around that time. So that stuff is going to be there. You're going to get caught. You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to be like, that's why it's throwing the conscience in there. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want your conscience to be defiled or upset. You don't be upset about anything, because that's just not necessary. So we have to use wisdom, because like I said, people think they know they don't, and they think they have the greatest intentions, but they don't understand they causing problems. So does that answer your question? But technically, like, if they say it's about a God, then you can't go, and if it's not, then you can. That's why there's no issue with birthdays, because who is that? What God is that talking about? Does that answer your question? Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
I have a question somewhat, I guess, piggybacking off of that.
Okay.
When it comes to weddings and family, friends, weddings and funerals, if it falls on a Sabbath day, going to a ceremony, is that considered sin?
For what type of ceremony?
For a wedding ceremony, or both, wedding and funeral. Weddings and funerals.
Okay, let's go to Isaiah 58. So the question is, can you do a wedding or a funeral on a Sabbath day, right? That's the question?
Yes.
All right, Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58, in verse 13. Isaiah 58 and verse 13. Isaiah 58 and 13. Okay, go ahead.
If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord. And I will cause thee to ride upon the high place of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob, thy fathers, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
Okay, so it says, if you turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day. So that's letting you know right there. He's looking for us to turn away our foot from doing our own pleasure on his holy day. We got 6 days to do whatever. And he's asking for one day to be dedicated solely to him for his business. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thine own thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight. So this is something, the Sabbath is something you looking forward to, you enjoy. Right? So we could use that idea. Like, if it's something that we do every week that we really enjoy, then you already know that you're going to make concessions for it. You're going to try to get things out of the way so that you can do that. So that's what he's saying, call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord. This day is holy to the Lord. Honorable. This is how we honor him. And shall honor him, see, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure. Right? So, I mean, what happens at a wedding? I mean, my wedding was a whole lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even think we could have had my wedding on the Sabbath as much fun as we had. Like, it would, you know, it would have kind of dampened the whole thing, not being able to do this. He said, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Again, what happens at a wedding?
Well, yeah, for a wedding, I know the feast, but I was thinking more.
For a wedding, you know the what now?
No, I was thinking more in terms of the actual ceremony, like the ceremony itself.
So, okay, when you say ceremony, what are you saying? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about, you know, the actual union between man and woman within the church.
You saying where they stand up in front of the minister and they say vows and the minister say some words and all of that?
Right.
Okay, that
to me, technically, I'm not sure if that's technically your own pleasure to, or same thing with the.
It should be. Hopefully it is. But here's the reality of that. Here's the reality of that. Okay. It's because okay, let's deal with reality. Because this happened in a camp once. They had a wedding on the Sabbath after the lesson, right? What they, I don't know if they counted on this or not, but what ended up happening was friends and family of whoever was getting married that don't go to the class came up in the class on the Sabbath for the wedding. Now, are they going to do what they're supposed to do? See, this is the same. This is what I mean. This is the same as the holiday party thing and all of that. Are they going to adhere to, are they coming up in there with cooked food? Are they coming up in there with beer? Are they coming up there talking crazy? Then how do you deal with that? Like, how do you regulate that? Are women coming up in there with no hair covering? But how do you regulate that? What do you do? It's the Sabbath, right? The Sabbath is holy. You coming in where the Lord has placed his name to give you a place to keep his holy Sabbath, thinking, okay, well, we could remix this wedding to be not our pleasure, but now you got another variable that you didn't think about, and now people are in the crowd getting offended. And now there's strife because you unequally yoke with somebody that don't understand the Sabbath on the Sabbath in the Lord's house.
Yeah, I was speaking more in terms of you going to, obviously not the person in the truth having their own wedding on that day, but if somebody was to
if you go to a wedding.
if you go to a wedding or if you go to a funeral.
Oh, that's even worse. Okay, so all right, so again, okay.
But it's the same.
Yeah, it's even worse. Like, okay, so now you trying to keep the Sabbath holy. You going to a wedding. What happens on a wedding? Ceremony or no? Like I said, my wedding, we started with first of all, the DJ played for about 45 minutes before the processional.
I've never been to a wedding like that. But
Okay, well, explain the wedding ceremony.
no, so wedding ceremony, you enter into a church, and it's just where the man and woman do their vows.
Yeah, but before you do the vows, there's a processional in every wedding because everybody got to come up to the front, the whole wedding party, and usually there's some music.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, there's some
But
music.
not like anything ratchet or.
Even if it's not ratchet, we talking. Is it about God? What is it about? What's playing? And then you got them coming in, and then they come in, and then they do their whole thing.
Right.
I mean, the Sabbath is holy to the Lord. So I guess what I'm saying is, how do you keep this, what we just read, Isaiah 13, in that environment? How do you do it?
Right.
You honor him not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Which means you got to kind of come up in there quiet, because even here we can't talk about the game. We can't talk about the fight. I'm even cautious to ask people how their week was.
Right.
Because I don't want to get into this. So how do you do that outside of this environment on the Sabbath? Especially if you put yourself in an environment where people that generally do not care anything about what we're talking about here. So how do you get that done is what I'm saying. Right? And then, okay, so now verse 14.
Verse 14. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high place of the earth, and fed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
Right. So this is a whole you want a whole see, and it's funny you say that, because there's a place with which you get in this walk, or it's been my experience. My experience is you go from, can I do this and keep doing the other stuff? You go from that to, I'm really enjoying this. Like, I want to just focus on this. Like, I really don't want to split myself. Like, I don't really care about that as much anymore. It's like you go from one place to another, and then it's a whole nother thing. Like, I would rather have the Lord, what he say? Then I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth and feed thee. I'm looking at this. I don't care. I don't want none of that other stuff to get in the way of this, is what I'm saying. So I don't see how let's go to Leviticus 23.
So even if you have a situation where you attend church services first, and you worship, and you whatever, and the wedding is afterwards,
we're going to look at the commandment for the Sabbath. How to keep the Sabbath holy. You're supposed to rest, have a holy convocation, not work, not do your own pleasure, not find your own words, not have your own thoughts. I mean, just the whole I'm going to a wedding after church is your own thought. Do we have any examples of weddings on the Sabbath? Like, why have the wedding on the Sabbath? Like, what is that for? Have it on Sunday.
But generally, non-believers would have it on the Sabbath.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm speaking about. Just more in terms of how do we deal with the world.
So again, that's what I'm saying. There's like a little, there's like a whole, there's a whole part of your walk where it's like, how do I keep, how do I appease this while I do this? And from my experience, it's a point where you get to where it's like, I don't even, like, I'm not going to, it's too much energy to try to keep appeasing that. Like, whatever, let the chips fall where they may with that.
Funeral is the same thing. You don't choose when you die. Like, a funeral is...
Yeah, don't have it on the Sabbath. Like, you get, the Sabbath day is a holy day. Right? So...
Period.
Yeah, it's a holy day. Why are you having the funeral on the Sabbath? Like, why are you choosing to do that? Why are you choosing to have a funeral on the Sabbath? So the answer to that would be, I'm not choosing to have a funeral on the Sabbath. They having a funeral on the Sabbath,
Right.
and I want to go. So yeah,
Let the dead bury the dead.
yeah, we're gonna go read that. Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 and verse 1. Leviticus 23 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord, and all your dwellings. These are the feast of the Lord, even holy convocation.
Okay. So speak unto the children concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. So that's number one. You're supposed to have a holy convocation, right? Now, I don't know how you, I mean, let's be realistic. You're going to come to class from 1 to 3. Most classes started like 12 to 1. You can come to class from 1 to 3 or 4, and then somebody's having their wedding after that, the ceremony. Like, I don't know, you're going to get a car and jet cross town. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was just speaking in terms of, like...
Are you still going to do the holy convocation?
You would have to.
So you do the holy convocation, and then you leave and jet across town to go do the wedding?
I guess that's how...
That's what I'm saying, like...
Ouch.
I don't see it. And then in reality, yeah, I don't see it. But you gotta have a holy convocation. Okay, Exodus 20. Exodus 20 and verse 8. Exodus 20 and verse 8. Okay, go ahead.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them, and rested the seventh day, whereof the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Okay, so there's a whole other component on the Sabbath that has to be done, which is rest. So at what point does that happen? You're going to take a nap, then go to class, then go to the wedding, like... I don't see it. And that whole, I don't see how somebody could look at a wedding as not, if a wedding is not your own pleasure, what is it? What is it? I mean, it was great pleasure for me to marry my wife.
But what if you're just a participant in honorees?
Is it not pleasure to sit and watch?
Well, you think that it's something
it's not pleasurable?
That it's godly, right? It's a godly union.
Well, yeah, that's the one thing that I think of, because if it's something
if it was just a party
ordained by God, you know, that a marriage, you know, but at the end of the day, the Sabbath is the Sabbath, right? There's no.
But the focus is still on you and your wife. I mean, it is ordained by God, but the Sabbath is all about God.
Right.
The Sabbath is all about God. Everything you're doing for the Lord. And he's asking for one day for that. So I'm just trying to understand, why are you even doing, or just wait till Sunday? Like, right at sundown, you straight. Yeah. Like, you don't have to worry about, what I'm saying is, at sundown, you don't have to worry about offending the Lord in any way, shape, or form with anything. Family coming or whatever might be said or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that right at sundown. Right. So why do it Like, why do it and I say this about everything. Like, again, I go back to certain family members. You know, just out of experience, I tell them, look, these are the holy days. This is the Sabbath day. You're welcome to come and join us if you'd like to know and if you're interested to participate. If you're not interested at all, you don't want to know nothing about it, you don't ever want to hear about it, the best thing to do is just stay away on those times. Okay. Because during those times, if I can't explain to you why I can't talk about my favorite band or the game or if I can't explain it to you, it's just going to be weird. And you don't want to hear it. But I'm going to act different on these days because there are certain rules I'm adhering to, and there's a certain experience that I'm looking for. So, you know, don't come around on Passover. On unleavened bread, we can't have bread in the house you don't want to know about. So just don't come this week. When it's over, then I don't have to worry about offending the Lord, and we could be, you know. So I'm just saying, I don't understand, you know, why are you doing it on the Sabbath? Because you now have to do it. You have to do it a certain way, and I don't really get. You have to explain to me how this is not. How you're not going to speak your own words at your wedding? It's like then you just a vow.
No, I'm not saying for not my own wedding. I'm just talking about being a participant.
Oh, like going and watching.
Getting invited.
I'm sorry, going and watching. Yeah, I don't see it. Because that to me that's worse because you going into an environment on purpose on the Sabbath of people who 9 out of 10 don't care nothing about this.
Nope.
So I don't you know, I don't see it. Even that, like I said, you got the procession and usually people will sing, right? As people walking in, somebody pick their favorite song, somebody singing it. That don't have nothing to do with God. I don't, you know, I don't understand why, you know. I said do it after the Sabbath, do it at sundown, you straight, you know, and the Lord can smile. And me personally, like I said, my wife and I went through great pains, bro, to do our wedding on Sunday. Number one, it was supposed to cost, I don't know if it costed more or less, I can't remember, but it ended up costing less. Number two, we had family flying in from everywhere because nobody lived where we lived. So we had family flying in from Canada, and we had family flying in from the South, and we had like last minute bridesmaids fittings, last minute dresses that wasn't ready, last minute people that fell through, and all of that. And we couldn't talk about this at all from Friday night to Saturday night.
Wow.
So people came in on Friday. Everything had to be done before sundown Friday. And there was no discussion about the wedding from Friday night to Saturday night. And Sunday, I'm talking about it was amazing. It was an amazing way. The Lord put his hand on it. I feel like he did that because we went through such great lengths to, you know, and to do it on the Saturday, my conscience. I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. I wouldn't have been able to have the fun I had. Drinking and all, dancing. We danced most of it. I don't see how you...
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily talking about the feasting. Just because I understand the feasting, of course, you know, cooking and whatnot, but just more of, regardless if it is ordained by God or not, it's the sole focus, purpose is of God.
The sole focus of what?
No, of the Sabbath. The Sabbath, which is why it shouldn't be kept on. You shouldn't be. Again,
I don't see. We're not dealing with a specific thing that I can see, but I don't see how a marriage ceremony does not fall into Isaiah 58. Right. I don't see how anybody's saying that's not your pleasure. I don't see it.
Glad you explained it because
I don't see
all along for me, I was thinking because it's a union, it's a godly union. In my mind, I thought, okay.
That's even.
That's the way how I.
Yeah. Even now, okay, all right, okay. I hear what you're saying, but let's go to.
That's the question.
Yeah. Let's go to.
I would have thought that.
Let's go to.
Thoroughly, then now I could say, okay, I get it. Why not? Even if you're not getting married, but you're just attending somebody's wedding.
Mark 10. Because the premise now is, and I may be getting technical, but the premise now is maybe I can attend a wedding on the Sabbath because a wedding is a godly union. Right? That's the premise? Okay. Mark chapter 10. Mark chapter 10 and verse 11. Mark 10 and 11. Okay, go ahead.
11. And he says unto them,
Loud, please.
And he says unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another, committeth adultery against her. If a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she commits adultery.
Okay, so would you go to that wedding? I'm saying if the premise is all weddings are godly union.
Oops.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have this information too?
We just looked at the whole wedding. Oh, they're getting married. It must be nice. Yeah, we did. I wouldn't have.
It's too many variables.
Wouldn't have gone so deep as to are you marrying somebody else?
I mean, you're not supposed to, but the point is, if you justifying going on the Sabbath, see, that's why I'm saying just avoid the Sabbath. Because if you have to go through all this to try to justify going on the Sabbath, then you got to make sure the justification is airtight. And this is a problem with that, with whatever premise y'all just gave me. So that's why I say just avoid it, and then you don't have to worry about all that. Like you go, hey, somebody get married, you go on Sunday. Hey, they told me it was a wedding. I went on a wedding. I went to a wedding. I didn't know. Hey, that ain't my business. But if you justify going on the Sabbath saying that God ordained this, then you need to make sure of that. Is what I'm saying. So that's why I say just avoid the Sabbath altogether and you should be good.
Yeah.
So regarding the death, the funeral. I'm searching death. That's why I said that. I'm sorry. Go to hold on. Go to
you going for the knockout?
No. I just wanted to read something on the hold on one second. Let's find this. Okay, hold on. I just had it and I lost it.
So that's not really an issue when it comes to a funeral.
Okay, maybe it's numbers.
That's a tough one.
Numbers.
What did Jesus say to that one guy? Let me go bury my father. That was harsh.
Numbers 19. Numbers 19 and verse 11. Numbers 19 and verse 11. Numbers 19 and verse 11. Okay, go ahead.
He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall
Okay, so anybody that touches a dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. Keep going.
He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifies not himself, defiles the tabernacle of the Lord.
Okay, so whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifies not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord. Keep going.
And thy soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law. When a man dies in a tent, all that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. And every open vessel which has no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with the sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days.
Okay, so whosoever toucheth one that is slain with the sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. Keep going.
And for an unclean person, they shall take off the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon all the vessels, and upon the person that were there, and upon him that touch a bone, or one slain, or one dead, or a grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall purify himself, wash his clothes, and bathe himself in the water, and shall be clean at even. But the man that shall be unclean, and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he has defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. The water of separation has not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean.
Right, and of course, this water separation, this dealt with the red heifer, right? So obviously, we don't, that's not in play. But the Lord is telling us that, hey, anybody, he said, even whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword, or the open fields, or the dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. Right? Keep going.
And it shall be perpetual statutes unto them, that he that sprinkled the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that touches the water of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and the soul that touches it shall be unclean until even.
Okay, so now let's go to Matthew 8. Matthew chapter 8. So again, we just have to remember the Lord is only asking for one day, and he's asking for us to do specific things on that day. And he pretty much is saying, you can't do your normal thing. You under certain restrictions, even in your behavior. So again, that premise in and of itself, I don't see how, once you put yourself in a situation outside of the Sabbath, you are risking and you are breaking. Like how do you operate under those restrictions outside of, what you normally do on the Sabbath? It's unnecessary to me. Matthew 8 and verse 22. Matthew 8 and 21.
Okay.
Matthew 8 and 21. Okay, go ahead.
And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead.
Now that's a profound statement. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to throw in that let the dead bury their dead. He didn't have to throw that in there. You know what I'm saying? He basically, it's enough people to take care of that don't really even understand that that's over with anyway, and you trying to deal with life, so you need to be focused on what you're like. That's a lot he's saying there. Yep. But this couple with the whole, hey, you even touch a grave, you're unclean 7 days. I don't see why you would purposely do that on the Sabbath. That's not. I don't see that as keeping it holy.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Again, this is the only reason we having this conversation. Hold on. Matthew 10. This is the only reason we having this conversation. Matthew 10, verse 34. Matthew 10 and verse 34. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 34, right? Think not that I came to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foe shall be they of his own household.
Right. Because if everybody had the right understanding, wouldn't nobody be scheduling none of this stuff on these days. Right. So the only reason we having this conversation is because most people want to. Let's be clear. Most people want to and are forced because of the current system to keep Sunday holy. Right. Because I had this same situation. I was supposed to sing. Well, I did sing. I sang it was a brother and sister that got married in LA, and I sang at their wedding. And I was supposed to rehearse with now they were in the Word, so they had their wedding. I think it had to be Sunday. But I was supposed to rehearse with the band, rehearse the song. I never got a chance to rehearse the song because it was like weeks before, and they were like, well, we're going to rehearse on Saturday. I think it was something to that effect. I can't remember. It was something like that because the conversation was like, I was like, well, I can't do it. I don't know if it was a rehearsal or if I was supposed to go pick something up or meet with them or something. And I was like, well, I can't do that because it's the Sabbath day. I said, but I can rehearse with y'all Sunday morning. He was like, well, nah, we can't do that because we're going to be playing in church. I said, well, hey, you know, God didn't command y'all to do Sunday, so let's do Sunday. He was like, nah, well, we can't do that. So I started busting him in his head a little, but then I let it go. But the point is, that's the main reason that we are considering defiling the Sabbath day, because they don't want to defile their day. And it's already set up, and they can't really change. They feel like they can't change the infrastructure. So that's the only reason we're really having this conversation. If everybody understood it was the Sabbath day, then wouldn't be scheduling on that. So I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't suggest it. I don't see the justification. I don't see how that works. And furthermore, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because you're putting yourself in a position where you're trying to do something that you should be able to enjoy, but you must restrict yourself. And that doesn't make any sense to me. So, does that answer your question? All right. Questions or comments on that? And I know too many stories of people who, it's a brother in LA who his brother got married, and he waited till sundown and went to the wedding, and because he did that, his brother got in the Word. Because he saw how serious he was about not. Yeah, he saw how serious he was about not attending the wedding during the Sabbath.
I have to say that, like Paul was saying, run a good race. Basically, What I'm trying to say is basically a fear. You feel the fear when you're at your walk. When you first come into work, you're kind of sketchy and stuff. When you're young, you fall for temptations like this. You go, oh, I go, it's okay. But as you grow in faith, as you grow, as the years go on, that fear level gets increased. And at the time, once you get to a certain level, that won't even be a question. They ask you to go, no. End of story. Because your fear. Where is your fear?
Yeah.
Right? It's the fear. But that takes time, as the word takes time. Right? So it just...
Yeah, absolutely. And like, in the couple with what he's saying, man, hey, me personally, I need the Sabbath, bro. Like, I need every minute of it. For real, because you get a day to be in the book all day. I don't know how y'all weeks be going, but it's rough during the week.
Yeah, it is.
I ain't trying to skimp on today too.
I look forward to coming and spending time with like-minded people.
Like-minded people, man. I ain't got to fight people off. I'll spend all day trying to find real quick angles to get people off me about stuff. I don't have to do that. So I look forward to it. I ain't really trying to do that on this day as well. Like, I really enjoy it. So... And it's to the point now I don't feel right not keeping the Sabbath. Even with people, I don't even really feel right doing it at home. You know what I'm saying? So
it's only obvious. You drive 2 hours one way getting here.
But I'm just saying, it get to that point where it's like you see what the Lord is doing. Yeah, they can have it. They need to move their stuff anyway. All right, so we got another question? 14 and 34. 1 Corinthians 14 and 34. All right, we'll read it and then we'll get your question. 1 Corinthians 14 and 34. 1 Corinthians 14 and 34. 1 Corinthians 14 and 34. Okay, go ahead.
Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also says the law.
Okay, your question is?
Where in the law does it say that? I mean, it's also says the law.
Right, okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. Let me see. They are commanded to be under. I think this is referring to when it say, let your women keep silence in the church, but it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience. That's what he's saying is being said in the law.
Mm-hmm. Is it under law in Genesis?
Yeah, read 35. But when it say they are commanded to be under obedience, I believe that's what it's referring to when it say, because it says they are commanded to be under obedience, as also said the law.
Right.
Okay, so it's not the speaking.
No.
Nah, it's not talking about it's saying the not speaking. Read verse 35.
If they will learn anything, let them ask their husband at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church.
Right, but I think what he's talking about is just the overall obedience of the woman. And let's go to hold on one second. Genesis 3. Genesis 3 and verse 16. Genesis 3 and verse 16.
And the Lord God commanded the man, saying...
3. Genesis 3.
Oh, sorry, 2.
No worries. Genesis 3 and verse 16. Okay, brother, when you get there, go ahead.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee.
Right. So from that point on, the woman's desire shall be to her husband, and he shall rule over thee. So that's kind of what it's referring to in terms of being in obedience.
Right.
So.
But he's saying, or is it shame for her to speak?
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah. Well, what he's saying is, I mean, let's put it in practical terms. We'll go back to 1 Corinthians 14. He basically saying, don't let your woman get out of pocket. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
Keep her in check.
That's what he's saying. 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 34. Verse 34. Okay, go ahead. I mean, what happened in the garden?
Yeah.
Somebody got out of pocket.
Big time.
I didn't write this.
The slang It's the slang
1 Corinthians 14 and verse 34. Okay, go ahead.
Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also says the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husband at home.
Okay, so already that's showing us a structure that we can't take for granted now. Right? So basically, what this is telling us is, what is my wife, like, if I'm at home studying with my family, then yeah, what does she need to be asking questions at church for? Or what does she need to be speaking up? Or what is she saying? Like, what's going on? If she's supposed to be learning, if she's supposed to be learning from me, if I'm supposed to be teaching. So again, that's already showing us another structure. That's showing us another structure that we can't take for granted now. Right? I mean, some of us are learning right along with our wives right now.
Right.
So we can't take, but all things being equal, he's saying, and this ain't the worst thing in the world to say. Like, hey, put this order in effect. Like, what? They don't need to be unnecessary. That's unnecessary. You need to deal with that at home. And that's showing you also, the respect factor of, hey, this is my household. I'm taking care of my house. I'm studying with my wife and I'm studying with my children, and everybody's learning from me. And we come to church. And
if there was a question, you would have to go to somebody else and ask the question if you need a clarification, and then bring it back home to your.
I mean, that's order.
Yeah.
That's order, as opposed to.
I know lots of women will take offense to.
Yeah.
I know lots of women take offense to a lot of stuff in here. But at the same time, to be fair, I take offense to a lot of stuff that's going on in the world that people are doing. Don't nobody got no problem offending me.
Right.
So yeah, this God is a God of order. Mm-hmm. And hey, if more people listen to this, we wouldn't have. I mean, all the false prophetesses out there wouldn't even be happening.
At what level can a woman teach? I guess because there's a lot of knowledgeable, educated, wise women. At what level can they
teach? What?
the word.
The children.
Anytime, anywhere out, they can teach anywhere. They can teach men. They can teach anywhere outside of an official pulpit position.
Oh.
That's right.
Okay.
Anywhere outside of official pulpit position.
You can't stand up there.
See, once you get official, then it's an issue.
Okay, so you could have a convention center where you.
No. What I'm saying, that's official.
That's official.
I'm saying official is we gonna come together like as a congregation.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be the head of that.
Right.
Yeah, because this specifically refers to in the church, right?
Yeah. Somebody's got to be the head of that. The head of that needs to be a man.
Yeah.
The head of that needs to be a man. But I mean, hey, if you are my coworker and you know you work with all of us and you know the word and we don't.
Yep. There you go.
And we get on the phone with you and you schooling us, and we come to the crib and you schooling us and all that. But ultimately, you'll be like, hey, I go to class over here.
So if you put up something on the internet as a woman, just what you've learned in terms of scripture-wise, can you do that? Can a woman do that?
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Okay.
Okay.
In church.
I see that a lot.
Yeah. Here,
You can teach women too.
here, go to
You can't stand in the pulpit.
You just can't.
But it's different in the sense of like
Not only in the pulpit, but you cannot serve authority over a
people on
man.
YouTube
That's the problem.
Preaching as their platform, that would be considered.
You can't serve authority over the man, not only on the pulpit.
Because that's not pulpit though. That's the
But
social media.
that's a ministry.
Ministry.
It's still a ministry though, right?
here you go. This is the key. Go to 1 Timothy 2. Go to 1 Timothy 2. Because here's the reality. The reality is we don't see no women running churches in the Bible, period.
No.
So if that's cool, we should have at least one example. We see women prophesying.
Yes.
We see women leading people to, in the word and giving word and all of that.
Uh-huh.
Here, 1 Timothy 2, we'll read all of that. 1 Timothy 2 and verse 11. 1 Timothy 2 and verse 11. Okay, go ahead.
Let the women learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to serve authority over the man, but to be in silence.
Okay, so this is the key. We don't want to threaten the hierarchy of the men. And we have lost sight and understanding of this. Meaning, this is not to say that, like you said, women are intelligent and wise. Hey, a lot of women could break down the word a lot better than some men.
Yep.
But somebody has to support the fact that the men need to be getting up and be men. That's very important as well. So if you're gonna raise up men and have men be leaders, then everybody's got to get behind that idea. And we can't usurp that idea, or we cutting the legs out from under our men and you killing the nation. You understand what I'm saying? So, the woman has to support that idea as well, because it's good for everybody if men are doing what men are supposed to do. That's good for everybody. So this is all about order. You know what I'm saying? So again, we don't see any women running churches in the Bible, and they were going around and setting up churches all over the place. And again, there had to be women who had the word. I mean, Timothy's mom and his grandmom was the ones that gave him the word.
Right. They
taught him, so they had to be sharp to teach him. Go to 1 Timothy 3. 1 Timothy 3 and verse 1. First Timothy 3 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
This is a true saying: if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. Not given to wine, nor a striker, nor greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not brawler, not covetous. On that rulers well his own house, one that rulers well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity.
Okay, so again, this don't transfer over to a woman, right?
No.
This is talking about a man. Say if a bishop must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, no brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth his house well, ruleth his own house. This does not transfer over to a woman, right? I mean, even women that profess the whole end of, I'm a strong, blah, blah, all of that. They ain't talking about ruling their house. So this is a man's job. Clearly. One that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. Verse 5.
But if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God?
This is talking about a man, though. Let's go to Titus 2. Because see, here's the other part. If the woman is playing the man's role, running the church, then what is the man doing? Because see, while the man is playing his role, see, the woman has her role too. Just like in any other place in society. Like I always like to use a business as an example. No one would expect to go into a business and see 18 presidents, no managers, no workers. Right? You see one, maybe a couple partner presidents or whatever. Then under them you got executives. Then under them you got management. Then under them you got supervisors. Then you got workers. And everybody knows what they're doing. And whoever doesn't do what they're supposed to do, guess what happens to them? They get fired. And everybody understands that. Yeah. They might even suggest that, you should fire them. They're not doing what they're supposed to do.
So now they seem to have quite a bit of female bishops in England and stuff like that.
Yeah. When it comes to man and woman, it's like, hey, it's a dice toss on who's supposed to do what.
The Catholic Church,
Except for when it comes to being a garbage man. I don't see nobody fighting for that job.
No.
That's just all men. Just say it. Why don't y'all start there? Titus 2. Titus 2 and verse 1. Titus 2 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged man be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, and patient. And the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach.
See, so the women are teaching, but it's a whole. See, again, if everybody's focused on this job, it's a whole bunch of other jobs that's falling to the wayside.
Right.
There's a whole big void. Not giving much wine, teachers of good things. Look what else they teach in verse 4.
That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husband, to love their children.
See, it was a time people understood that also needs to be taught.
Yes.
Like, everybody ain't just born understanding how to do this. But this is necessary for a functioning society. Somebody has to focus on this.
Yeah, in the old day, the whole town raised the children.
I mean, who's teaching, what it say? To teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children. Like, that's a big job. That's a big job, preparing young women on how to, because they got a whole thing they need to run.
Right. The household.
That's a big job.
Yeah, it is.
Running a company.
It's like running a company. It is. It is. It's sometimes it's harder than running a company. It's easy, It's easier to work with adults than children. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying to have people go into this ill prepared generation after generation because you focused on trying to be in a position that's already filled is putting super void in society. Verse 5.
Verse 5. To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, and good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed.
Blasphemy, right. So again, this is, Satan has been able to vilify all of this.
Yes.
But in actuality, this all needs to be taught. Like, everybody you ain't just gonna, know how to navigate through all of this. And I mean, I don't see nobody attributing the ignorance of this to divorce or none of that, but I mean, stuff ain't working out a lot. Maybe it's because ain't nobody teaching this.
Yes.
So, I mean, we all got our hands full. So that's where the Lord is at. Like, we look at it from it's simple. Like, he got it set up. It's like a business. Everybody got their part to play. It don't mean, see, the Lord is, like this brother said, the fear of God and the love of God is supposed to keep people in check to where ain't nobody abusing, because they say the men are supposed to, I can't remember the phrase specifically, but something to the effect of dwell with your wife according to knowledge. Yeah. Right? So, and not to inspire your kids to be angry or something like that to say. Mm-hmm. Provoke them to wrath.
It's Corinthians.
Right. So, everybody got their part to play. Everybody got their thing they need to police on themselves. But all things being equal, if everybody's doing their part, that's how you get a functioning society. And the way you destroy society is by fooling people into thinking that they don't have to, there are no roles, and it's just chaos. Yes. Like I said, try to run Amazon like that. Or Apple. Who's doing that? Anybody?
No.
Nobody's running their business like that.
No.
Where nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Or everybody, like, one day I'm doing it, next day you doing it. Who's doing that? So now let's go look at this. Jeremiah. I'm sorry, Joel.
Oh, Joel.
Joel 2. Thought it was Jeremiah.
Well.
Joel chapter 2. Uh, 28. Joel 2 and 28. Joel 2 and 28. Okay, go ahead.
And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions.
Okay, so notice he said your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Right? So again, This is letting you know, hey, the Lord can use anybody to spread this word, and we see plenty prophetesses in the Bible, but again, we don't see any women who have been ordained to be heads of the church, because the man is the head.
That's right.
But again, that doesn't mean that, hey, the Lord can't use a woman to share the word.
Can I ask something regarding this scripture? When does this take place?
Okay, let's look at that. Go to Acts chapter 2. Because when this actually takes place, this is the millennium. Because he said he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh, right?
Yeah. Right now it's Israel.
So this will actually take place when he comes back. Let's see, Joel. But Peter referenced this on the day of Pentecost. Matter of fact, hold your finger in Acts and go back to Joel. Sorry, go back to Joel chapter 2. Joel 2 and start at verse 23. Joel 2 and 23. 2 and 23, go ahead.
Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he has given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, and the former rain and the latter rain in the first months. And the floor shall be full of wheats, and the vat shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten.
Go ahead, keep going.
The cankerworm and the caterpillars and the plumber worm, and my great army which I send among you, and ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that has dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh.
Right, so you see where he's talking about, right? He's talking about redeeming Israel, and he say after that he's going to pour out his spirit on all flesh, right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
And your son and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, a blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered from in Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, in the remnant whom the Lord shall call.
Okay, so now go to Acts chapter 2. Because though Joel was talking about in full being poured out on all flesh, that got to be when the Lord comes back.
Right.
Peter quoted this talking about Acts chapter 2, because that was a form of it. The Lord poured out his spirit right here. So he was able to use that. Verse 14, 2 and 14.
Okay.
2 and 14. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as you suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel, and it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, I will pour out my spirit upon flesh, upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servant and on my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in heaven above, and sign in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great day, and notable day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
Right. So he quoted that at this time, which that wasn't, he did pour out his spirit on everybody there. So that was relevant. But we saw the context, the Joel context. That's talking future. Does that answer your question? All right. Any other questions or comments on it? Okay, go ahead.
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
A new question.
Yep.
We all know that Elijah is dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you open my eyes and spread some light on Malachi 4:5?
Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Okay. Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5. Malachi chapter 4 verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
So open my eyes in this, because you're talking about the day of the Lord here, but before the day of the Lord, he said, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet.
Right.
So who are we referring to? If Elijah the prophet is already dead, is that his spirit?
Matthew 11. Let's go to Matthew 11. Matthew 11 and verse 7. 11 and 7. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitudes concerning John, Why went ye out into the wilderness to see a reed shaken with the wind? But what went ye out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in king's house. But what went ye out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violence take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. If you will receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come.
Okay, so that's Jesus saying that prophecy in Malachi was referring to John the Baptist.
Okay. John, the spirit of John the Baptist, or John the Baptist himself at that time.
What he's saying is, when Malachi prophesied that he would send John the Baptist, it was referring to, when Malachi prophesied and said he would send Elijah, he was referring to John the Baptist.
Before the day of the Lord.
Right, which that was before the day of the Lord.
Yes. Okay.
So that's all, because
70 AD, right?
What 70 AD?
When we talk about the day of the Lord, in that aspect, is it before before Romans took over Jerusalem?
No.
We're talking about
the day of the Lord is when Jesus comes back. But John the Baptist came before Jesus in the flesh as well.
Right.
So, he came and he did his baptism and all that. And then when Jesus started his ministry, he came on the scene at 30 and got baptized by John and then went and did his thing. So it's kind of, I guess that's like a double entendre. Because, we know the day of the Lord. So John the Baptist and that whole, and Jesus, all that thing happened before what's going to happen in the future. But John also came and paved the way and got people prepared for Jesus' 3.5-year ministry. So it's just saying that, with the same spirit that Elijah had when he was out there doing it, because Elijah was kind of standoffish as well, right? That's basically what we're saying. Like, and John the Baptist was the same way. So he kind of came with the same vibe,
okay,
same kind of way about him as Elijah. So wasn't Elijah out there in the wild as well?
Not like John was. John was wild.
Yeah, John was just out there eating locusts and honey, right?
Yeah.
I think
There's a precept down Luke 1. Luke 1:17.
Okay, Luke chapter 1, verse 17.
go from 16 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even Elisha had a double portion of the spirit of Elijah, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Luke 1 and start at 13.
Okay. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have a joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be a great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and the power of Elias, to turn the heart of the father to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord.
Okay.
And also one other precept that said, Elijah already came, and they did unto him for whatever.
Where's that?
That was Matthew or something.
Matthew?
Yeah. They said Elijah must come first. Matthew 13 or something.
You're in Luke. Is it Matthew or Luke? Matthew 13, you said?
Yeah. No?
Matthew 14?
Is it 14? What's that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe not.
No, this the one? Okay.
No, that's not it.
Oh, it's Elias must come first. Hold on.
17:11.
Oh, yes.
Okay, Matthew chapter 17.
10.
And start at 7.
Okay. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw a man save
Oh,
Jesus.
I'm sorry. Go back to, let's read into this. Start at 1. Start at 1. 17 and 1.
Okay. And after 6 days, Jesus takes Peter and James and John, his brother, and brings them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias, talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my Son, my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias, as truly shall first come, and restore all things. But I say unto you, that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them John the Baptist.
That's good.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me get my pen.
Wow, okay.
I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Elijah, did Elijah die, or was he taken,
Okay, yeah, let's go look at that. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Where is it? Matthew 11. What was that? 17. Matthew 11. 14. Matthew 17, 10 to 13. Okay. So the question was, did Elijah die or was he taken?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go look at that.
2 Kings 9 and 8.
Second Kings 2. Huh. 2 Kings 2. I'm sorry. There we go. 2 Kings 2 and verse 1. 2 Kings 2 and verse 1. Second Kings 2 and verse 1. Okay, when you get there, go ahead.
And it came to pass, when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, As the Lord liveth, and as thou soul livest, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the son of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha, and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away the master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the son of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha, and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Tarry, I pray thee, here, for the Lord hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they went on. And the 50 men of the son of the prophets went, and stood to view afar off, and they two stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle, and wrapped it together, and smote the water, and they were divided hither and hither, so that they two went over on a dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask what I shall do for thee, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken away from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it shall come to pass, as they still went on and talked, that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and a horse of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, My father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof, and he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. He took up also the mantles of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, Where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the water, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophet, which were to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, The spirit of Elijah does rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking for something else while y'all did that. Book fell. Poor book. Okay. So we're 2 Kings 2, right? Okay, so it started by saying verse 1 said, It came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal, right? So you got the sons of the prophets who know what's getting ready to happen. Verse 3 said, And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yeah, I know it. Hold your peace, right? And they kept going back and forth on that. So now, verse 11, And it came to pass as they still went on, and he talked that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Right? So now, what he asked for, what Elisha asked for, which was a double portion of the Spirit, fell on Elisha and the sons of the prophets. Noticed that, right? Mm-hmm. Verse 16, And they said unto him, Behold, now there be with us.
15.
And when the sons of the prophets which were to view at Jericho saw him, they said, The spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. Verse 16.
And they said unto him, Behold, now there be with thy servant 50 strong men. Let them go, and we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord has taken him up, and cast him upon some mountain, or into some valley. And he said, Ye shall not send.
Okay, so what are they talking about?
They're trying to find out. They're trying to find it.
Yeah, why did they think that? They the sons of the prophets. They knew he was going.
Right.
Why did they think that, but then people today think he went to heaven to be with the Lord? They didn't say, we can't go find him because he went to heaven to be with the Lord. Mm-hmm. They said, look, we got a couple people here, let's put out a search party. Right. Why are they saying that? Said, let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master. They want to go look for him. Lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord hath taken him up and cast him upon the mountain or into some valley. And he said, Ye shall not send. Verse 17.
And when they urged him till he was shamed, he said, Send. They sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not.
Okay, so they went and put out a search party for 3 days. Now the question is, why are the sons of the prophets looking for him in a mountain or in a valley if he is in heaven? And if he's in heaven, why don't they know that? Right? Verse 18.
And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, Did I not say unto you, Go not? And the men of the city said unto Elisha, Behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord sees, but the water is not, and the ground barren.
Okay, so we went too far, but he said they made him ashamed, and they went and searched 3 days and found him not. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, did I not say unto you, go not? See, I told y'all don't go look for him. So now let's go to, what was that, 2 Kings? Yep. Let's go to 2 Kings 3, the next chapter, and start at verse 1. Start at verse 1. 2 Kings 3 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Now Jeroboam, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18 years of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years.
Okay, so we're reading about Jehoram, the son of Ahab, who reigned over Israel in Samaria, the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. Skip down to verse 5 and go ahead.
But it came to pass, when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And the king Jeroboam went out of Samaria the same time, and numbered all Israel. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people,
okay,
and my horses as thy horse.
Okay, so Jehoram, the son of Ahab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that Elijah was dealing with Ahab, right?
Right.
And now we got Elijah went up in a whirlwind, and we got Elisha dealing with a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Elisha's going to pick up the mantle and keep going. So at the same time, we had Jehoram, who's the son of Ahab, reigning in Israel, right? Then it said, verse 5, but it came to pass when Ahab was dead, that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. And King Jehoram, this is Ahab's son, went out of Samaria at the same time and numbered all Israel. And he went and sent Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah. So we know the kingdoms were split. So you had Jehoram, who's Ahab's son, reigning over Israel, and Jehoshaphat reigning in Judah, right? Keep going. Middle 7.
Middle 7. And the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thou people, and my horses as thy horse. And he said, which way shall we go up? And he answered, the way through the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, they faced compass of 7 days' journey, and there was no water for the host and for the cattle that followed them. And the king of Israel said, alas, that the Lord has called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel servants answered and said, here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat. Here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah.
Okay, so now it's going into Jehoshaphat and Jehoram, right? Going up against Moab, correct? Okay, so now Jehoshaphat's king of Judah, Jehoram is king of Israel. Jehoram is Ahab's son, and we know Elijah dealt with Ahab. And at this time, when Jehoshaphat is out here with Jehoram, Elijah has been taken into the whirlwind. That's the point. We're trying to get a timestamp. So now, let's go to 2 Chronicles 21. Second Chronicles 21.
Verse 12.
2 Chronicles, we're going to start at 1. 2 Chronicles 21 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers.
Okay, so Jehoshaphat is dead. So we know this is down the line. This is way past when Elijah got taken up in the whirlwind. Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers. Keep going.
And was buried with his fathers in the city of David. David. And Jehoram, his son, reigned in his stead.
Okay, so funny enough, Jehoshaphat had a son named Jehoram. This is where it might get confusing, because this is a different Jehoram, because the other one was Ahab's son, right?
Yeah.
So there was Jehoram, who was Ahab's son, who reigned in Israel, and Jehoshaphat reigned in Judah. Then Jehoshaphat died. He had a son named Jehoram, who now he's reigning in Judah, right?
Right.
But we do know that this is way after Elijah was taken up in the whirlwind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Verse 2.
Verse 2. And he had brethren, the sons of Jehoshaphat.
Right, because Jehoshaphat is dead. This is way after Elisha took over the mantle for Elijah. Keep going.
And the sons of Joshua, Jehoshaphat, Azariah, and Jehiel, and Zechariah, and Azariah, and Mikael, and Shephatiah, and all these were the sons of Jehoshaphat, king of Israel. And their father gave them great gift of silver, and of gold, and of precious things, within fenced cities in Judah. But the kingdom gave he to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. Now when Jehoram was risen up to the kingdom of his father, he strengthened himself and slew all his brethren with the sword, and drivers also of the prince of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 80 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, like as did the house of Ahab, for he had the daughter of Ahab to wife, and he wrought that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord. Howbeit, the Lord would not destroy the house of David.
So again, we see that this is different than the Jehoram. See, it's weird because Jehoshaphat went to war with Jehoram, Ahab's son, right, against Moab. Then when Jehoshaphat died, he had a son. He named his son Jehoram. Then that Jehoram, who was reigning over Judah, went and took one of Ahab's daughters. So he kind of went after the way of the kings of Israel, like the book say, right?
Right.
But say verse 7, howbeit the Lord would not destroy the house of David. Keep going.
Because of the covenant that he had made with David, as he promised to give a light to him and to his sons forever. In his days, the Edomites revolted from under the dominion of Judah and made themselves a king. Then Jehoram went forth with his princes and all his chariots.
He didn't go out, did he? He didn't go out, did he? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Then Jehoram went forth with his princes and all his chariots with him, and he rose up by night and smote the Edomites which compassed him in, and the captains of the chariots. So the Edomites revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. The same time also did Lebaha revolted from under his hand, because he had forsaken the Lord God of his father. Moreover, he made high place in the mountain of Judah, and caused the inhabitants of Jerusalem
so this guy, Jehoram,
to commit fornication.
Jehoshaphat's son, did all the wrong, because Jehoshaphat was cool.
Yeah.
Jehoshaphat was a cool king. He did what was right, but his son did wrong. Verse 12.
And there came writings to him from Elijah the prophet, saying, Thus says the Lord God of David, thy father, because thou hast not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat thy father, nor in the ways of Asa king of Judah, but hast walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and has made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to go whoring like unto the whoredoms of the house of Ahab, and also hast slain thy brethren of thy father's house, which were better than thyself.
Okay, so where's this coming from? How Elijah writing him a letter? Say what now?
Well, my guess is the spirit of Elisha that they're talking about.
The spirit of Elisha? What do you mean?
The spirit of Elijah that's on Elisha.
You saying this Elisha writing this letter?
No, it'll be continue.
Oh.
Continue.
So this is Elijah. Say the letter came from Elijah the prophet.
Oh.
He writing the letter because he's not dead yet.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. So where was he?
He went into retirement.
Yeah.
He when they say did he put him in a, that's why they was like maybe he's in a mountain or in a valley.
Right. Okay.
Because the spirit just took him away, and I mean, wherever he was, that's where he was until he died. But clearly, he was still he's still able to see what was going on because the Lord told him to write, another letter. But basically, he had just went into retirement, and Elisha took over because he writing letters here way down the line from the time he. Right. Keep going.
Behold, with the great plague would the Lord smite thy people and thy children, thy wives and all thy goods, and thou shalt have a great sickness by disease of thy bowels, until the bowels fall out by reason of sickness day by day.
Okay, so that's good, but we see who wrote that letter, right? So now, go to John chapter 3. John chapter 3.
John chapter 3.
John chapter 3. In verse 13. John 3 and 13. John 3 and 13. Okay, when you get there, go ahead.
And no man has ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven.
Right. Now, we know this is talking about the third heaven. We did a whole lesson with a diagram on that.
Right.
This is talking about the third heaven. Go to 2 Corinthians 12. So we say no man hath ascended to heaven. It's talking about the heaven where the Father is, where the Father and the Son are. This is the third heaven. That's where Jesus came from. No man has ever been there. Will never be there, except for Jesus. So when it say Moses was taken up into heaven, it's talking about the heaven that we can see. He was basically just taken up in the air and put some. I'm talking about Elijah. Yeah. 2 Corinthians 12 verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Now concerning spiritual, second, is it second?
2 Corinthians 12 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
2 Corinthians 12 and 1.
Uh-huh.
It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I will come to visions and revelations of the Lord. I knew a man in Christ about 14 years ago. Whether in the body, I cannot tell. Whether out of the body, I cannot tell. God knows. Such an one caught up to the third heaven.
Right. Now that's talking about Jesus, but notice where he said Jesus went. To the third heaven. This is not where anybody else has gone. Let's go to Acts chapter 8. So again, we see the sons. That's the first clue, is that the sons of the prophets who know exactly what's going on. Elijah's going to be taken. They could recognize that his spirit was on Elisha. So these are cats that, people don't got that kind of discernment today.
No.
And they knew that he didn't go to the third heaven. Because they was like, let's get a search warrant. They actually went and looked for him. They're not stupid. And then we see later on down the line, he's still writing letters as the Lord commanded him to. But again, like I said, he just took him into retirement. And the spirit catching him away is no big deal, because we're going to see it here again. Acts chapter 8 and verse 26. Acts chapter 8 and verse 26.
Okay. Verse 26. And again, and the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise and go toward the south unto the way that goes down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is a desert.
Okay, so we all know this story, right? He's going to deal with the eunuch in the chariot and deal with the scriptures, right?
Yeah.
We all know this story?
Yeah.
Okay, let's skip down to 39. So he baptized the eunuch, and this is what happened after. Verse 39.
And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing.
Okay, same thing. That's just the chariot of the Lord. The Lord just using his transportation services to get this. Because again, you got to remember now, he told them to preach the gospel everywhere. They got, they got to be all, so they speaking in tongues, they traveling, the Lord is using miracles to do it because ain't no planes, ain't no Google Translator. So, it's just how the Lord do it. And look where Philip was found, because it say the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip. Verse 40.
Verse 40?
Yeah.
I was going to finish.
8 and 40.
8 and 40. Okay.
Yep.
And now
8 and 40.
Azotus.
okay. But Philip was found at Azotus, and passing through, he preached in all the cities till he came to Caesarea.
Right. So the Spirit took him into another city, basically.
And another
That's deep.
precept by Act.
You said what now?
Another precept.
Okay. You got another precept?
Yeah.
Yep. Where? Acts 5?
Acts 5. Yeah. Is that Acts 5? Was it? I think it's 3. I'm looking for because this now Bible I forgot it. Acts 5?
Acts 5?
No, Acts 5. This is the one that when David is not ascended to heaven.
That's Acts 2.
Acts 2.
Yeah. Acts 2:34.
Yeah, that's the one. I was-
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, Acts 2 and 34, and then we'll go ahead to another one.
Okay.
Acts 2 and 34.
For
Alright.
David,
Go ahead.
for David is not ascended into the heavens, but he says himself, "The Lord said unto my Lord, sit down unto my right hand, until I make thy footstool."
Right. So that's showing that nobody's ascended to heaven. He's talking about the third heaven.
Right, right.
Is it the one that talks about his sepulchres? The sepulchre.
Yeah, that's verse 29.
29. Okay. I couldn't find it because this is not. I had a.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about with Enoch? When Enoch, God took Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Where would he be? Was that to?
Somewhere in the spirit realm.
Yeah.
But not in the third.
Nah.
No.
The book don't say that.
Yeah.
No.
Just mention that he took.
Yeah. Yep.
He was translated, meaning he got his spiritual body, but he's not in heaven.
Right.
You're using him as an example. He said this could happen to you all if y'all didn't talk to Satan in the garden.
All right. Any questions or comments on that? Any other? And who's got another question?
Anybody else have one?
I'm good.
Any other questions? Questions going on? Oh, you got another one? Come on. Yeah. It's all good.
For Jeremiah 10, where it breaks down the traditions of men going to the Christmas. Verse 5, where it says, "Be not afraid of them." How do you break that one down?
In terms of what?
In terms of when you're trying to explain somebody that Christmas isn't in the Bible and it speaks about cutting down the tree and decking your silver and gold, and it's pretty clear. And then you get to verse 5, some people say, what does it mean that be not afraid of them?
Be not afraid of trees. They're not alive. They can't move.
Right. But I guess in the thinking where what is there to be afraid of if because if you know that it's a tree and it can't do you anything, so why would you be afraid of it?
Okay, I understand what you're asking.
So what does that be afraid? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, why would somebody be afraid? I guess that would be the question. Why would
okay, let's read it. Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah 10 and verse 1. Jeremiah 10 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Hear ye the word which the Lord spake unto you, O house of Israel. Thus says the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the sign of heavens, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the custom of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest. The work of the hands of the workmen was the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
Okay, let's go to hold on 1 second. Psalm 115. Psalm 115. And verse 1. Psalm 115 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory, for thy mercy and for thy truth's sake. Whereof should the heathen say, where is now their God? But our God is in the heavens. He has done whatsoever he has pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. they that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. O Israel, trust thou in the Lord, he is their help.
So he said, hold up. He said, I'm sorry. Verse 7. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. Verse 8. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. So again, now, Jeremiah 10 said, don't be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. But the Psalms are saying, it's people that trust in them, even though they know they made them. So the whole point is, it's addressing you making this God, but you bowing down to the God. You trusting the God. You got a whole superstition package going with the God. Just like today, people are afraid of certain superstitions that go with whatever they dealing with whatever idolatry they dealing with. Yeah. So that's the crazy thing about idolatry. You made this idol, but now once the idol is made, you giving it all this power that it don't have. That's the whole point he's making. Yeah. So when you're talking about Christmas, this relates to Christmas because it's describing exactly what you do on Christmas, but that don't mean that that's all. Like some people cut down the tree, they brought it in and they put a face on it and they put silver and gold on that, but it's still a tree with silver and gold on it, whether you fashion it into a totem pole or make it look like a Buddha, or you leave it as a tree and put silver and gold on and put presents on it. It's all the same because you give it. And what people who do Christmas don't understand is that is a remix of some other tree worship, straight tree worship. That's right. Yeah. Right? Like you go to certain countries, they feel cows are holy, so they're afraid to do certain things to the cows. So this is in your mind what you're giving. You're giving the power to a false god. So that's why he kind of, he like, what's the word I could use? He's not joking, but he's constantly like playing up the fact that it's dumb to trust in or bow down to or be afraid of or pray to an idol. This is dumb. How you gonna say these are the guys that brought you out of Egypt when you just made these calves? That's dumb. That's what he's saying. Like they can't do nothing for you. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of what he's saying here. So when he say they are upright as a palm tree but speak not, that's like what he's saying in Psalms. Like you got your image standing up, but it can't say nothing. It's just a inanimate object. They must needs be born, meaning you got to make it upright. Yeah. Right? Because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. So whatever you associating with this thing you got, it don't have the power to do what you saying.
That's right. And this relates to not just a Christmas tree, but to any graven image, any type of idolatry symbol. Like what I'm thinking about is the cross, right? You have the cross within the church with the crucifix.
Yeah, I mean, if I take a tree out of the forest,
cut it
down, deck it with silver and gold, fasten it with nails and hammers. This is me taking it and making it into something and setting it up. Mm-hmm. I'm setting up an idol, regardless of what it is. You know what I'm saying? And they can say all they want about, it ain't about the tree and we don't bow down to the tree and I'm not afraid of the tree. But it's a whole folklore behind Christmas with Santa Claus and being naughty or nice and all of that you teaching your kids. So to a degree, you still got people operating with a certain type of superstition behind this whole thing. Right. So there's that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So what's up with that? But the whole point is, this is describing literally describing what's being done every December 25th. I mean, if you care anything about the Bible, you should be doing it. Now, you don't care about the Bible, hey. Because there's plenty of people you tell that to, they don't, hey, okay, cool. I like I'm down with the pagans. I'm not tripping. Cool, but if you call yourself a Christian, so again, this is, like you said, a cross or you know, you go in a lot of these. People have idols around their house just as decoration now. Like they, you know what I'm saying? They got the little Indian head, the little, you know, or the Buddha statue or the elephant and all of that. And, you know, those things aren't generally made of wood, but they used to be.
Pine cone.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Skip down to verse 8, Jeremiah 10 and verse 8.
But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanity.
Skip down to read verse 9.
Silver spread into place is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Upaz, the work of the workmen, and of the house, and of the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God, and our everlasting King. At his rise the earth shall tremble, and the nation shall not be able to abide in his indignation. Thus shall you say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens.
So that's where you know this stuff ain't going into the kingdom, none of it. No traces of it. Because he said he gonna make these false gods perish from the earth, period. Skip down to verse 14.
Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there's no breeze in them.
See what he keeps saying? He just emphasizing the fact that this thing is it can't move. It's not real. It's, you know, this is really silly for you to think that you can create, that you're gonna create. You know you created this thing, and now you giving all this stuff that I'm commanding you to do. You're not giving it to me, but you're gonna create something and then give it that honor, like, because what did they do in when they came out of Egypt? They made the golden calves, and then they said, tomorrow is the feast of the Lord. So you giving her the same honor that the Lord is asking for. Hey, we're gonna separate this day to feast and honor these guys, and you know these guys got rules that we're gonna keep and do. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, Muslims, they deal with Allah. They got a whole set of rules that they gotta follow. They follow them. So the Lord is saying, like, you know, your God can't breathe, he can't move. You know, no need to be afraid of him. He can't do nothing. That, you know, that's basically what he's saying. What he's saying here, like, you know, whatever it is you're dealing with, it don't have no power to do anything. So why are you giving it all that attention? Does that answer the question?
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, people try to wiggle out of this, but again,
Oh yeah.
yeah, but hey, it's all good. I just take them real slow. Cutting the tree out of the forest. Is that what you do? Okay. With an axe. Is that what you do? Okay. Deck it with silver and gold. Is that what you do? We got some songs to prove that. Y'all got Christmas carols with all that in it. Fasten it with hammer and nails. Is that what you do? All right. So you have verse 4. Like, what part of this is not? Part of this is not talking about what you're doing.
They say, I don't bow down to the Christmas trees. Oh, yes, you do. When you get down and get those presents.
And they're like, oh yeah, but
what are you doing?
Sometimes the present is.
But here's the thing about that. Go to Exodus 20, because people, we were talking about that the other day. We was talking about that the other day with the false, with the graven image that the Hebrews use, that they say that's the black Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
And you're saying that that's the out that they give.
Yeah.
Like, we, you know, I don't bow down to it. But let's read what the law says about graven images. Exodus 20. Exodus 20 and verse 4. Exodus 20 and verse 4.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
Bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
Yeah.
What about that concerning Christmas? Because you're doing everything that is commanded of you concerning Christmas. This is serving that God.
Yes.
That's how you serve a God. You serve a God by doing what he says.
Right.
So, you know, I don't bow down to the tree, no, but you serve the God that set up this holiday by obeying his commandment. He told you to honor December 25th, right? He told you to put a tree in your house. Take the day off, buy presents, give presents to people, get in the spirit.
Go to debt.
That's what you're doing, right? So you serving that holiday, you serving that God. And the same thing with the false image that the Hebrews have. Because bowing down is not always, you bow down when you are in agreement with what that God has commanded you to do. Hence the serving him. So you can tell me you don't serve Jesus? Yeah, we serve Jesus, but we'll serve the picture. But who is the picture of?
And that's what who you're displaying all the time.
This is who you saying you serve, right?
Right, exactly.
That would make that a graven image.
Yeah.
So, any other questions on that?
No.
Okay, you got another one. Go ahead, let's go.
I got Genesis 18, verse 10.
Okay, Genesis 18. Okay.
This is where the Lord and three men come up against, or first visit Abraham, before they go into Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy it. And verse 10, what does God say when he... Verse 10, and he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. What does time of life mean? He repeats it in verse 14.
Okay, let's read it. Genesis 18 and 10.
Genesis 18 and 10.
Yeah.
And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have a pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid, and said, nay, but thou didst laugh.
Okay, so skip to chapter 21. 21 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Genesis 21 and 1?
Genesis 21 and 1.
And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was...
Okay, yeah, no, that's clear.
Okay, so that's good on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeremiah 8 and 8. It's a scripture that I've come across some people using to will take that and say that the Bible is, or not everything in the Bible, but some of the Bible is not, some things in the law are not, have been changed or misconstrued or something.
Some things in the law have been, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I just want to get the understanding of what does Jeremiah 8 and 8, what is it, what does it actually refer to?
Okay, Jeremiah 8 and 8, let's read it. Jeremiah 8 and 8. Okay, go ahead.
How do ye say, we are wise, and the law of the Lord is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he, the pen of the scribe is in vain.
Read that again, please, loud.
How do ye say, we are wise, and the law of the Lord is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he the pen of the scribes is in vain.
Okay, and your question about this is what now?
So some people would use this and say that there's that the law has been tainted with.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, that's not what this is saying
I
at
heard
all.
that from. That's
not
what I figured, because whenever I read, I said it has nothing.
No, that's not
how
what
I
that's
interpret it doesn't have anything to really do with
that's not saying that at all. Start at verse 5. Back up to verse 5. Eight and 5. Okay, go ahead.
Why then is this people of Jerusalem sliding back by perpetual backsliding? They hold fast deceit. They refuse to return. Are hearkened and heard, but they speak not aright. No man repented him of his wickedness, saying, what have I done? Everyone turned to his course as the horse rushes into the battle. Yea, the stroke in the heavens knows her appointed times.
Okay, so this is a comparison the Lord makes all the time. The animals know what to do.
Right.
He's saying Israel don't know what to do. They keep going the wrong way. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all keep going the wrong way. The birds know to fly south. And they fly south. You tell a bird, fly south, is the Lord. And what do? They fly south. The stork in heaven knoweth her appointed times. They don't deviate from what they naturally supposed to do. Keep going.
What I have done every time. Okay.
Verse 7.
And the storks in the heaven knows her appointed times, and the turtle, and the crane, and the swallow observe the time of their coming.
The turtle and the crane and the swallow do what they naturally supposed to do at appointed times, and they don't deviate from it. Keep going.
But my people know not the judgment of the Lord.
But the people that I chose to do what's natural to them, they keep deviating. They keep going the wrong way. Verse 8.
How do ye say we are wise, and the law of the Lord is
okay,
with
but
us?
they deviating, but they still want to talk like, they would still want to act like they know the law. They not keeping the law, but they saying we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us. but y'all not keeping the law. How do ye say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? Keep going.
Lo, certainly, in vain made he it.
He's saying, I done did this for nothing because y'all won't listen.
Yeah.
Certainly in vain made he it. Keep going.
The pen of the scribe is in vain.
I had all these people write this down. These books is dusty and they look brand new. They sitting on our nightstands and in the back of our car. And we ain't opening them. We just going about our business. But we say God is with us. Verse 9.
The wise men are ashamed. They are dismayed and taken. Lo, they have rejected the word of the Lord, and what wisdom is in them.
That's what he's talking about. He's saying we done had the scribes do all this in vain because y'all won't read it anyway. So that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's clear.
Let's put a precept on that. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 14. Because this one is even worse. He had the scribes put it in other languages and people still won't listen. like, what is it that I need to do? 1 Corinthians 14. And verse 22, 21. 14 and 21. Okay, go ahead.
In the laws written was men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto these people, and yet for all that will they not hear me, says the Lord.
For all that, whatever language they in, I'm going to speak to them in that language, clear as day. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. You need to keep the Sabbath day, and it don't matter what language I put in, they will not listen. So that's what he meant. All right, does that answer that question?
Yeah, actually, this goes into another question I had. So the precept for this one in Isaiah 28,
right?
Verse 11, where precept upon precept, to get the understanding. Now, when you get to verse 13, it mentions that they stumbled. So what is exactly, just trying to get the understanding.
Oh, Isaiah 28.
Right.
I know they were talking about pretty from drunk and they stumbled on the words, or?
You said 13 says they stumbled?
20, yes, verse 13.
Okay. Verse 12. Start at 12.
28 and 12?
28 and 12, yep.
To whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear.
So we still not listening. Verse 13.
But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here little, there little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken.
Okay, is that the verse you're talking about?
Yeah, so that's the verse I'm talking about.
Right.
So what was your question about that?
Question, I'm just trying to get understanding from this, especially like the last portion where it says that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken.
Okay, hold on 1 second. What? Oh, my phone just died.
You was looking for precept. You
Yeah.
have the...
Yeah. He wants that back. Hang on, not yet. I know I need it. Not yet.
That was given to...
Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let me,
The book was given to me.
Just trying to find this one scripture.
Charlie, dirty.
No, you're gonna fall.
I'm just trying to find this other scripture, but basically what this is saying. And so ye are witnesses against yourselves to each other. Joshua 24. We can use that. Go to Matthew 24. Matthew 24 first. Because he's in Isaiah, he started by saying, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine, that they that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast? For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lip and another tongue will he speak to this people, right? And that's what we got the Corinthians that said, with men of other tongues will he speak to this people, but he said, but for all that they will not hear. So all that he's going through to get his word to people, they not listening. So the problem with that is twofold. One, the problem is you're not listening, but two, the problem is you heard and you're not listening. So now the word that witnessed to you is now a witness against you because you heard it. Right? So he said, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this will be refreshing. This is a refreshing, yet they would not hear. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken where? Into captivity. Because it's two sides of the coin. Either you're going to hear it and do it and have life, or you're going to hear it and disobey it and have death. That's how the law works. Like Paul said, I would not have known sin if it wasn't for the law. That's basically what he's saying here. Gotcha. We still in Isaiah?
Yeah.
Isaiah 28. Isaiah 28, read verse 14.
For wherefore hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men, that ruleth this people which is in Jerusalem. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scorn shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves.
Okay, so did they literally make a covenant with death and say, hell, we are in agreement? Maybe not, but in not choosing the Lord, that's what they did. Keep going.
Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste.
Okay, so go to Matthew 24 and verse 14.
Verse 14.
Mm-hmm. 14, go ahead.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Read that one more time, louder, please.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Okay, so the gospel is going to be preached into all the world for witness unto all nations. But that could be a good witness. That could be a witness to your good or a witness to your hurt. Right? Let's go to Joshua 24. See, that's what people don't consider. You done heard the gospel. Whether you receive it or not, it's a witness for you or against you that you heard it. Joshua 24. And verse 21. Joshua 24 and 21. Joshua 24 and 21. Okay, go ahead.
And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve the Lord. And Joshua said unto the people, You are witnesses against yourself that you have chosen you, the Lord, to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses.
Okay, so there you go again. Your witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen the Lord to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. It's out here, and we are agreeing that we have said that we are going to do this. So again, in that Isaiah where it say, look, who's he going to teach knowledge? This is how you're going to get knowledge, but ultimately they ain't going to listen. So then the word becomes, something that's going to have you in captivity. Because the word's already out there. It's not going to come back to the Lord void. Right? So does that help you with that?
Yes.
Okay. You got something else? If you don't, get that.
No, I do.
Get that out your
mouth. This one is probably quick. Forget what scripture it was. We went to John, but that we must worship God in spirit and truth.
John 4.
Yes, John 4. Now I understand the truth, but in spirit, when it speaks about the spirit in this aspect of worshiping God in spirit, that means according to His word.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I had that.
Yep. That goes with the Galatians 5. Walk in the spirit, and you should not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Okay. Speaking in John 4, when Christ encounters the Samaritan woman. Now, is that woman a Gentile or an Israelite?
In John 4?
Yeah.
John chapter 4. You said that, so the question is she is she a Gentile or an Israelite?
Yes.
Okay. John chapter 4 and start at verse 7. Start at verse 3. Start at verse 3.
Verse 3.
Okay, go ahead.
He left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There comes a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus says unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then says the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans.
Okay, so that's telling you right there, she couldn't be an Israelite because she just said the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Now, I know the little spin doctrine that's out there.
Right. And
so
that's something that I'm...
Let's go to Matthew 10. Yeah, let's go to Matthew 10. Matthew 10 and verse 5. Matthew 10 and verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Okay, so the whole idea was to go out there and get the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So why is she's saying you don't? She didn't say the Jews have no dealings with the 10 tribes, or the Jews have no dealings with the northern kingdom. Which that would be great if she said that. Yeah. That would be a great feather in the cap of this doctrine to substantiate it. That's not what she said. She said the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans, which is corroborated by what Jesus said. Right. He said, don't go in the way of the Samaritan. Right? Yeah. So
I know because the doctrine that I was, that I've been told was that she's an Israelite. For one of the main reasons was one was just on principle that that some of the northern tribes were in Samaria.
Correct.
At 17. This time.
Correct.
As well as verse 20 where she ends up saying our fathers worship in this mountain. So why would,
if she's an Israelite, why would she say the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans?
Which I think at that point they would say that the northern, going to the whole northern southern tribe split, and then in Hosea where northern tribes really went off, and then God denounced them, saying that
right.
Just let them alone.
Right.
And to have no dealings, for Judah not to have any dealings with Ephraim.
So why didn't she say that?
I don't know.
Why didn't she say that? Because in fact, if she was, why didn't she say we know that the Judah has no dealing with Ephraim? Why didn't she say that? Because see, this is where they these people did not know who they were.
Right.
Because they still had Jerusalem. You still have people coming back to Jerusalem. They still was able to people in the world knew who they were. Whoever these 10 tribes that were scattered, it's not like people didn't know who they were at that time. This whole not knowing who you are don't come in until you wipe out Jerusalem. You put more different people in Jerusalem. They now calling them Jews. Now don't nobody know nothing for years and years and years. Now maybe somebody don't know who they are.
Yeah. No, that's true, because it wouldn't make sense if that's after. I'm just thinking the book of Acts where you have the tribe there and everybody knows who they are. It's not like they don't know who they are.
Well, here go
2 Kings 17.
Yeah, we're gonna go to 2 Kings 17. Hold on one second. Goodness, remind me later.
Act 10.
Is that with the woman? You know what I'm looking for?
Which one? Which?
Oh, hold up. That's it. I think that's it. No, that's not it.
Which woman are you talking about?
From the tribe. Yep. Luke 2. Luke chapter 2. So no dealings with nobody from no other tribes, right? That's the doctrine?
Yeah.
Luke chapter 2, verse 36.
And there's one Anna the prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was of a great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her
What's she doing there?
virginity.
What's she doing there? Notice it say from the tribe of Asher, not that she's Samaritan or anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so back to John chapter 4. Again, all the woman got to do is say, you know, we know the Jews have no dealings with the other tribes, but she said the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans, which is corroborated by what Jesus said in Matthew 10, don't go in the way of the Samaritans.
Also in Acts when for the vision and the dream to show that you can, now you can deal with
Now you can deal with them, right. So now let's go to 2 Kings 17. And this is where the 10 tribes went into captivity. Verse 23. 2 Kings 17, 23. I know we're going long.
17
and 17, 23, yeah. I know it's a long time for the kids to just hang out.
23?
Yeah, 23. Go ahead. This is the precept for that whole exchange we read. Go ahead, 23.
Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight.
Okay, the 10 tribes going into captivity. Keep going.
As he has said by all his servants, the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. Mm-hmm. And the king of Assyria...
So the 10 tribes went into Assyria.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Verse 24.
And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuthah and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the city of Samaria and the state of the children of Israel. And they possessed the Samaritan and dwelled in the city thereof.
So 10 tribes got taken out of Samaria, and the Assyrians brought a whole bunch of other people and put them into Samaria, and they possessed Samaria. So now when you come down to, so now check this out. Verse 26, read verse 26.
26. Wherefore they speak to the king of Assyria, saying, the nation which thou hast removed and placed in the city of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land.
Okay, because that's always the issue. You still got to deal with God. So these strangers that come in the land, they don't know how to operate with God. Keep going.
Know not the manner of the Lord, know not the manner of the God of the land. Mm-hmm. Therefore he has sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them because they knew not the manner of the God of the land. Mm-hmm. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom you brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land.
So you got a priest going into Samaria teaching them about the God of Israel. He's strange. which is basically the people that's in the land now are sons of converts who then took it and did their own thing with it, Edom. We could read in the Bible how the Herodians, those are Edomites that was running with. So my point is, we got clear-cut scripture telling us who these people are. We got clear-cut scripture telling us they had to a certain degree, deal with the priests. So that means they got to learn about God. That means they got to learn, you know. So as you go down the line, we don't need you no more. We got it. This our land. We these people. That's why she's saying our Father. Verse John 4:12. Art thou greater than our father Jacob? If you go into Israel right now, the people there will say the same thing.
So it's almost being ignorant.
The people in Israel right now, if you ask them who their father is, they're gonna say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And you know what I'm saying? And they write about Abraham and they write about Isaac, but they not write about Jacob. So you would get the same answer right now if you went over there. He would say, are you greater than our father Jacob? Jacob is not your father. So my point is, see how we could read all of that and put it together. Now what I need to read is, and the Israelites were referred to as Gentiles. I need something. Give me one scripture, one concrete scripture. For he speaketh, you know, he says something about the Gentiles, but he speaketh really about the 10 tribes. Just give me one. Give me one.
I'm trying to find the scripture. There's one scripture that was used as well for this. Isaiah 7 and 9. Isaiah 7 and 9 to show that that a northern tribe could have been in that way.
And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Well, okay. When is this talking about? And it was told the house of David, saying, serious. This is. Let's look at this timeline. Start at verse 1. Isaiah 7 and 1.
And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jehoiakim, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that risen the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it.
Okay, so this is around the days of Ahaz. Wait, it came past the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Rezin, the king of Syria. Okay. Let us go up against Judah and vex and make for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it not be a people, that it be not a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria. But notice how this has, and notice what we read has to do directly with who is inhabiting the land. Specifically, the 10 tribes getting kicked out of the land, and a whole bunch of other people being brought to the land. This is not talking about that. This is not directly dealing with that at all. And furthermore, nobody is saying that there were not any Israelites in Samaria. Nobody's even saying that. So I agree that there could have been some Israelites in Samaria. I'll give them that. Yeah. My point is, this woman did not identify herself as an Ephraimite. She identified herself as a Samaritan, and my question is why? They knew who they were. For them to have this big old beef with the Jews, they had to know they wasn't supposed to, you know, if they ain't supposed to talk to the Jews, they got to know who they are to know that, right? So again, this is a woman who was placed, Her forefathers was placed in the land back when we read. Just like them people over there is placed in the land. Their forefathers was taught the God of the land just like these people. And after a certain point, you don't need these Negroes no more. You got it. You could do it. And that's why she's saying what she's saying. But notice she also is. Now here's the other weirdo. This is where it all gets confusing, because according to what I understand, this whole phantom Gentile is supposed to be an Israelite thing is contingent on these Israelites not wanting nothing to do with God, right? Do they serve God or not?
If they serve, right? No. That would be no.
That's why they call Gentile.
Correct. Yeah.
Her whole conversation with him is where you worship God.
Got it. Right. Yeah.
Why? I mean, she's supposed to be living as the. I don't. Do they care about God or not? Which one is it?
Yeah, no, that's true. Because yeah, she mentioned about worshiping on the high.
She said, "Our fathers worship in this mountain. Ye say that Jerusalem is a place where men ought to worship." How she know what he's saying anyway? How she know he said that?
Yeah.
Like I said, their whole mandate was to get the lost sheep of Israel. Like that wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this woman, she says she's a Samaritan. The Bible says she's a Samaritan. I got it.
Yeah. So that was my main thing. Was our fathers was how do you?
Yeah, it's that Second Kings.
Then the Second Kings, yeah.
That's what again, Second Kings in real life. Like I said, any Hebrew goes over there now and talk to somebody in the land, they're gonna say the exact same thing she's saying.
Well, even the ones that are here, like they'll say the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They'll say the same thing.
Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very limp attempt. They'd have did better doing what their forefathers did. Just act like the New Testament ain't. At least they had enough sense to be like, we don't believe in the New Testament.
Yeah.
These cats are trying to just twist the whole New Testament,
Yes.
which is just, I guess, in this day and age, where everybody just makes their own reality. I guess it works at this time, but it's a weirdo. It's a weird. All right. Any more questions? Skip down to verse John 4. Skip down to verse 25 and go ahead. John 4 and 25. Go ahead.
The woman says unto him, I know that Messiah come. The woman says unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things.
Okay, again, do these Gentiles / Israelites, we're going in the parallel dimension now of this doctrine. Are they waiting on the Messiah?
If they don't, well, yeah, they shouldn't be if they don't believe.
Verse 26.
Jesus says unto her, I that speak unto thee, am he.
Okay, here go a nail in the coffin right here, verse 27.
And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he talked with the women.
Why?
Yeah.
I thought the mandate was to talk to the...
Yeah.
Supposed to go out to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? So what they so surprised about? They should be like, oh, he doing what he told us to do. Keep going.
Yet no man said, what seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her?
Uh-huh.
The woman then left her water pot and went her away into the city, and says to the men, Come and see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Is not this the Christ? Then they went out of the city and came unto him. And meanwhile his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that you know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, Has any man brought him out to eat? Jesus said unto them, My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. And say not ye, There are yet 4 months, then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he has reaped, receive wages, and gathers fruit unto life eternal. That both he that sows and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one sows and another reapeth. And I send you to reap that whereon ye bestow no labor, other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. And many of the Samaritans of the city.
Hey, if you guys need to split, you just leave them right there. Okay, go ahead.
And many of the Samaritans of the city believed on him for the saying of the women which testified, and he told me all that ever I did.
Okay, so and many of the Samaritans of the city believed on him for the saying of the woman which testified, he told me all things. And now who are all these people? Many of the Samaritans, who are they? Verse 40.
So when the Samaritans were come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them, and he abode 3 days.
Okay, so now I'm supposed to believe he did all that, and not one true Samaritan. He there 3 days. Now you telling me not one true Samaritan stumbled upon that? Keep going.
And many more believed because of his own word. And he said unto the women, Now we believe, not because of thy saying, for we have heard him ourselves, and know that this indeed is the Christ, the Savior of the world. Now after 2